All right, guys. Welcome to another Sunday night session. We are we're coming into a really wild week this week. I know I'm not going to be sleeping a whole heck of a lot, so I've stocked up on some Rockstar Energy and some Monsters, and because I know I'm going to be up all night watching what everything's going on, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are too. There's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of confusion. Unfortunately, I wish that I could be the one to bring light and truth to the world and bring some clarity to things, but I think that is going to have to come over time, and it's definitely not going to come from some idiot in his house doing a YouTube channel talking about jet skis. So, oh well. But hey, before we even get into the nitty gritty, I wanted to talk about some really cool things. First, we want to give a big congratulations to the guys at Sea-Doo. The Sea-Doo racers were at the Pro Watercross World Championships this weekend in Naples, Florida. And it was the first race debut of the brand new 2021 Sea-Doo RX-PX 300. We had Erminio Iantosca and on a purple one, and then we had Anthony Radedick on yellow, Millennium Yellow, and respectively, Erminio got first and Anthony got third. So the only two 2021 RX-PXs to race podiumed. So that's a big, big deal. That should for you Sea-Doo guys who are looking forward to what the RX-PX can do. Two of Sea-Doo's top athletes just got world championships with that ski. So that's a really big deal. Some really good action shots are coming out. So do the new RXP, RXT have the new screens? No, it is only on the GTX Limited for 2021. And it probably won't show up on other units. I say 2023. I think they're going to let it breathe a little bit. But anyhow, thank you, Cameron, for the question. So yeah, that was a big deal for Sea-Doo. I know Sea-Doo's ecstatic about it. And a lot of people who are watching the race this weekend are all jazzed. Unfortunately, this is going to be the first time since the Watercraft Journal, well, actually, the Watercraft Journal is older than the Pro Watercross National World Championships. We will not have coverage. Unfortunately, it was a fluke, and it was unfortunate for us. But Jessica Waters, our very intrepid, very reliable, super awesome photographer and journalist, and primarily covers all of our racing for us. Jessica, unfortunately, injured her back, and she just wasn't able to make the drive. And God bless her. I feel terrible. Back injury sucks. So if you're watching, Jessica, our heart goes out to you. Please get better soon. We can't wait to see you back on the beach taking pictures for us. Your coverage is the best, and you're one of the best racing photographers there are out there. And we wish you a speedy recovery. So again, guys, my apology. We simply were not able to get a replacement a contributor to help out with coverage from this weekend's race in Naples. So this will be the first time that we are not covering it. It sucks, and trust me, I'm not happy about it. But with Jessica down and out, and we put some feelers out, but no one was going to be able to do the job that Jessica delivers. So I figured it's better not to do a half-assed job. I'd rather do it right. So anyway, guys, that's the big news from this weekend. Was the Sea-Doo RX-PX doing really good, and then from there we won't have coverage from that weekend. And that's not a comment towards us supporting the Pro Watercross. Pro Watercross has been fantastic. They put on a great series, a great tour. The Naples event's fantastic. I have not been personally. I haven't been able to make it. It's always fallen on difficult weekends. And this was a busy weekend, well, with Halloween and the kids. But we had family in town, and it was just a bunch of stuff personally that it wasn't going to work out for me to go. But I do plan on going, hopefully one of these days when schedules align and stars align and all that kind of fun stuff. Sea-Doo or Yamaha, which one you prefer, by the way? Love your channel. David, thank you for the question. I did a little bit of a Q&A on that one. My needs are different than yours, and like you're asking brands. So, I mean, like I have a GTI SE 170 outside right now, and I absolutely love that. That ski has been fantastic. So if you're asking me like recreation units, I'd totally tell you GTI SE 170. If you're talking fishing, it's like, well, I'm kind of lazy and I like the new Fish Pro colors, and I would totally go for a Fish Pro. And if I was to do offshore, offshore racing, I would be on an Ultra. If I was to do just kind of a general all-around family unit, I'd probably do an FX HO. And I would pick the HO over the HO Cruiser only because I'm 6'2" and I don't like the cruiser seat. But again, my needs aren't necessarily yours, so it's a little difficult to answer that just as vaguely as you gave it. So anyway, well, guys, we have some. My editor Adam is kicking butt right now, and he's really hoping to have the Cumberland 440-mile ride that I did on the STX 160LX, and that is hopefully going to be live to everyone this Friday. That's a little sooner than I was expecting. We were hoping for it, but then realistically, it's like, I could wait. But Adam is hoping to get everything done in time for a Friday morning launch. If that's the case, you're going to have the article with all the pictures, and you're going to have the video. And it should be a longer video. It should be like a 12 or 13 minute. I don't think we'll go 14, but I think it'll be like 12 or 13 minutes instead of just the usual 10 minutes. Just because there's a lot of scenery, there's a lot of stuff to cover. It's a fun adventure ride. There's a lot to it. So I'm excited for that one. And after that, he's already working on our 2021 EX Limited review, and that was the 90 horsepower, not 100. What is it? TR1. TR1's 90. No, it's 100 horse. Wow, what am I doing? Oh my gosh, I got confused with the Ace motors. It's the 100 horse. It's actually like 105, but the 100 horsepower EX. And how would an EX fare on a 440-mile ride like that? Dude, you could do it on a 96 XP if you wanted. It's just fuel and endurance. If you think you can hang, man, and you can pack on the gas or you can make the stops, do it. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I'll tell you, man. I mean, I did it on an STX, and STX can be a rough ride. It's not some big cushy Cadillac like a GTX or an FX Cruiser, So don't let anyone stop you. Honda needs to make a comeback. Hey, Mitchell, that was one of the questions regarding tonight's video. I was going to share a whole lot of stuff about Honda and my experience with Honda. Believe it or not, I actually had a hand in Honda's second wave with their F series. And believe it or not, I was actually instrumental in getting them to try out racing for 2 years. It was kind of a quasi-failed attempt, but again, at the same time, it just wasn't. The economy was dying, and now we're actually going to get into the topic of today's lesson. But anyway, that EX Limited video should be out 2 weeks after, so technically 3 weeks from now. So that's what's going to be happening on the video channel that you're watching right now. And we're going to have articles that coincide with those. All right. So let's talk about the giant 800-pound gorilla in the room right now. Okay. For us living in the United States, Any idea what the new Sea-Doos will be arriving? They're arriving right now. You need to call a dealer. I got a million people asking when are they gonna show up? They're showing up by basically market and market demand. So, anyhow, let's get into today's lesson. Let's get into today's conversation. So, in 2012, okay, how do I say this? Let's back up a little bit. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I'm not going to tell you what guy's better, what guy's worse. I'm not going to get into personality types. I'm not going to get into histories. That's not this is a jet ski channel, man. That's not why you're here. But what I am going to talk about tonight is economics. We're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about economics. All right? Money in your hand and what that means. That's the biggest thing. All right? And I will tell you some interesting notes that directly reflect how the economy directly affects the personal watercraft industry. All right? 2008 was the crash. It didn't really hit most people on the ground level until about 2009. And that's when you start seeing watercraft sales plummet. That's when you start seeing dealers crash. Is around 2010 was when it really hit. It was 2010. People stopped buying jet skis because obviously the most superfluous purchase you can make is a jet ski when the economy's in the dump and you're losing your house. All right. So what happens from that? Sea-Doo starts thinking, hey, how do we keep afloat? How do we keep people buying watercraft? What are we going to do? Because they're not buying the $16,000 unit in 2010. They're not buying the $14,000 unit in 2010. So they go, oh, crap, where's our future? So they start thinking, hey, let's go back to our roots. So they start a 5-year project. And for 2014, they come out with the Spark. And the Spark is a direct result of the economic crash in 2008, 2009. They even presented it in the actual media presentation to us when we were there in Florida. They're like, listen, people don't have the cash to drop on a $15,000 ski. They're just not. And so you saw Sea-Doo come out with the Spark. And that is 60 horsepower and then 90 horsepower. And that was the entire point. So then what happens is that they also say, hey, listen, we're also going to help provide potential buyers new avenues to finance. And they had their own self-financing efforts through Sea-Doo. They're being very proactive, trying to keep people buying new product. Okay. Now they marketed it to young people. If you look at all the ads, these were these young, mustachioed, scarf-wearing, beret-wearing hipsters, who are all drinking IPAs and, whatever. And they're all, literally the first advertisement that came out on the Spark was 4 hipsters in a Toyota Yaris with a trailer hitch back in a bright pink Spark onto a lake. That was who they were marketing towards. What's really funny, though, is that who were the first people to buy them? Who were the people who were buying Sparks right out of the gate? It was a bunch of 45-year-olds. Because the 45-year-olds were like, hey, this thing's just like an XP. I'm going to go jump this stinking thing out of the J. So the two first viral videos, I'm not joking, you guys can look this up on YouTube. The two first viral videos were one guy at the time he was in young 40s, because I know who it was. I'm not going to name drop him here. I actually know personally both of them. But the first guy was doing some of his old freestyle tricks from the early 90s that he used to do on sit-downs out on a Spark. He's sliding it and getting over the bars and doing a fountain and doing his freestyle routine on a Spark. The other guy, also another Floridian in his 40s, starts jumping the thing 30 feet in the air. because again, he grew up riding XPs and HXs. So he's like, dude, this is great. Ringing it out. So despite the marketing effort to trying to get young kids to buy it, it was 40 somethings who were buying the first Sparks. Then they started finding out that it was older couples who had money who were buying one or two and leaving them at the lake house for the grandkids to play on. Okay. This is just the demographics who were buying Sparks in 2014, 2015. All right. That's all I'm talking about right now. Interestingly enough, the people that they were marketing the ski towards were not buying it. All right. Now, you were finding people not in their 20s, but in their 30s who were young parents or young couples who were married, didn't have kids, and they were looking for something fun, something safe, something they could tow behind their Toyota Yaris or their little Jeep Grand Cherokee or whatever it was, and going to the lake or going to the ocean and riding a Spark. So that was Sea-Doo making specific changes in an environment caused by a down economy. All right. The GDP growth during these years, and I'm not even going to say the name of the administration, GDP growth during this time was record low. It was record low. Now, mind you, it was crawling out of the grave that came from the 2008-2009 crash. Okay? So any movement up is good movement. I'll give you that 100%. But the rebound growth was incredibly slow. It never broke 2%. Okay? And that was very disheartening for a lot of people, especially a lot of people who 8 years earlier, 6 years earlier, were seeing massive sales. 2006, 2007, and even halfway into 2008, excuse me, Watercraft sales were skyrocketing. 2007, 2008 were actually really, really strong sales years. All right. Why? At the time, and this gets into politics and this gets into the nastiness, but at the time, getting a loan and getting money from a lender was super easy, super cheap. All right. Now, mind you, there were screwballs who, I mean, I was in Southern California at the time. And at the time, it's like, if you have a job making 50 grand, you could qualify for a $500,000 house. And then you qualified for that $500,000 house, get into the house, and then you refinance the house 6 months later, and these guys are out there buying a brand new Duramax and then a ski boat and putting their wife in a 5 Series BMW. So they're upside down in this house and upside down in everything. And the guy's a delivery driver for UPS. All right. That's what was killing California, the California housing market and lending market. So there's a little bit of information there for you. But nevertheless, what was becoming of that time was that people were borrowing money. They were like, hey, I'm going to go buy a brand new Ultra 250. And Cowie was making killer deals on it. And Sea-Doo was offering killer pricing on RXT, on RXPX 255 at the time. And you're like, dude, sign me up. I want two of them. Give me a TX and a PX. Boom. And they're throwing them on the trailer and heading out of town, going to the lake. All right. So that was the environment at that time and why sales were so high. And then we get to 2012, 2013, sales are in the toilet. And it's because people didn't have expendable income to spend on a jet ski trailer, or even a truck to tow it. All right. That was just the facts. But when we started seeing late 2014, 2015, we started seeing some rebound. And the housing market started to rebound a little bit. And people were starting to buy homes. They were buying older homes. I always pay attention to the housing market and what new homes and building new homes, because that's typically a really good barometer of how things are going. All right. So around 2015 is when we started seeing new homes being built at a pretty quick rate, a lot faster than before. All right. But what was also on the plate was a new election, new presidency. All right. And effectively some big change. What came into this was our current president. All right. Donald Trump. Donald Trump comes in with a lot of economic background. We can talk all day long whether he's successful or not, whether he's a fraud, whether he's a charlatan, whatever. The guy's worth a lot of money, all right? And he's worth a lot of money, and he gets audited every year. The New York Times publishes illegally, but the New York Times publishes tax returns. And I read that article, by the way. Not a lot of people read that article from beginning to end. All right, I read that article from beginning to end, and thankfully, I have somewhat enough fiscal knowledge that I can understand what was being said. The first 3 paragraphs are saying he only paid X amount of dollars in taxes. If you go down probably about 9 pages, scroll pages, they actually detail that he paid $4.5 million one year, and he paid another $1 million the next year. And he overpaid, he prepaid. Now, believe it or not, that is a very common practice. My brother prepays for taxes. I don't, but it's because we claim everything here. So, but just to the point was that they publish all of his taxes. The man is constantly audited, and he made that money more or less on the up and up. And I know we can argue about that, and it's, it gets into an ugly situation. But why do I bring this up? Why do I even mention it? It's because he came to a lot of people, and he said, the economy is stagnant. It's barely growing. I'm going to throw some gas on the fire, and I'm going to bring jobs back to the U.S. And he said all the things that a lot of conservative-minded, fiscally-minded conservatives were tickled about. All right, he's singing our song. All right. So what happens? It takes him almost 2 years, but let's go before the 2019 tax cut. The 2017 first tax cut was minor. All right, and it primarily helped out not the little guy, not me, not a guy who makes less than 6 figures. Not a lot of people, and in the usual, middle class, upper middle class, and obviously in poverty. It was helping out a lot of businesses. He was pulling tariffs out, and then he was heavily tariffing foreign. All right, and why was he doing that? He was trying, honestly. That's okay. Yeah, I'm not going to block any comments. You guys can talk. And I know there's arguing happening right now. Guys, you don't need to argue. This isn't the place. Take it to Facebook or Twitter. This is a jet ski channel. But what happened with the tax cuts, and there was 2 waves of the tax cuts, is that the tax cuts did something really important, and that was incentivize businesses to bring manufacturing back to the States. All right? And it de-incentivized businesses from farming out manufacturing and product development internationally. So why was that important? Well, domestic manufacturing not only produces jobs, all right? The biggest thing that I can talk about that I was kind of excited about was his wheeling and dealing with Ford, all right? As an automotive journalist, I kept close tabs on this. Ford was in the process. They had already started the process. Detroit News was incorrect when they said that it hadn't happened yet. They were already there, all right? Ford had moved its truck production to Mexico, all right? And that was a big deal. And they were in the process of moving their heavy truck production to Mexico. And the White House got wind of it. And he goes, wait a minute. We bailed you guys out. We gave you a bunch of money. Why are you moving stuff internationally? So he threatened them, and it was a lot of back and forth and a lot of ugly news and a lot of ugly tweets. But Ford relented and said, you're right, we're moving truck production, which the Ford F-150 is the #1 selling truck in the United States. And they weren't making it in the U.S. It blows your mind. So Ford said, yes, we're moving truck production back to Michigan. That's a big win. And it opened up, and it wasn't automated manufacturing either. It actually produced jobs. And Ford was very proud of the fact that they brought several thousand jobs back to the Rust Belt, back to Michigan, back to Ohio. And that was a big deal. All right. So that is why it's really important. And that was kind of the process that he did along the way. We started seeing a lot of metal manufacturing. He started primarily with a lot of automotive manufacturing because that was a visual product. That was a very visual win. Dodge brought a lot of. Dodge wasn't really that bad, but Chevrolet had moved some stuff back to the U.S. Dodge was actually incentivized in. This is actually really cool. Was they bought a couple of the old rundown assembly plants in downtown Detroit, and they regentrified it and they modernized these plants. One of them was the Hudson plant, literally the old Hudson, like the Hudson Hornet. And they bought that plant, and that's, I think, where they make either the Avenger or the Durango, which is a small, the Avenger is a small SUV, Durango is their larger SUV. And then I think it was a Pontiac plant, or no, it was Pontiac or Oldsmobile. They bought another plant, which was also downtown, and that was also converted into the SRT plant. It was primarily making Vipers, and then when the Viper was phased out, which is a shame, they converted it into the SRT production line. So anyhow, we started seeing manufacturing come back in a big way to the U.S. All right. Again, that brings jobs. All right. What also does that mean? That means that they're buying local product. They're sourcing out, because it wasn't just manufacturing. It wasn't just the big three. All the big three, and even, and that's automotive. I'm sorry, I'm going down the rabbit hole of automotive. But also, you're looking at Kawasaki, Yamaha, Sea-Doo. They have parts suppliers as well. And now we're seeing these parts being manufactured in the U.S. A lot of electronics, a lot of plastics, a lot of really neat material was actually happening here in the U.S. all of a sudden. All right. That's a big deal. Then with this, at the same time, a big push by this administration was energy independence. Now, you can take. I really don't care what your motives are or what you think the motives are, but in pulling the United States off of foreign oil, which was OPEC nations, primarily controlled by Saudi Arabia, but when we turned off the spigot and said, hey, OPEC, we don't need your oil anymore. We're producing our own. What did that do to the United States oil? Or just how about the gas? All right. We went from $4.50, $5 a gallon down to $2 a gallon. All right. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. That's a big deal for me, big deal for you. Because everyone at the gas pump, it hurts everyone equally. Okay. So that was a big thing that happened. And energy independence was something that we announced, that the U.S. was able to announce late or early last year. So that's a huge deal that we are energy independent. So at no point can OPEC go, screw America, we're tripling the price of oil. Okay. Now, coincidentally, this also happened simultaneous as the Russian-Saudi blow up over oil rights. Russia and Saudi Arabia are having a brawl when it comes to oil rights right now, and oil pipelines, and it's getting really ugly. And you know what's nice? We got nothing to do with that. We are way over here. We got nothing to do with that. And here's another thing. For you hippy dippy peace love guys, that also means no more war for oil. All right. That was the number one complaint about the Persian Gulf and getting involved with Saudi Arabia and Iran and Iraq and everything like that, was war for oil. No war for oil. Well, guess what? We're making our own, so we don't need your oil. So that's a good thing too. So that, and these things benefited all of us. A rising tide raises all ships. So everyone was seeing more cash in their pocket. They're not dropping $5 a gallon for gas. They're dropping $2 a gallon. All right. Their house values are going up. All right. The equity in your home's going up. And the smart guys are out there going, well, hey, what's my credit score look like? Oh, your credit score is doing really good. Well, maybe I should refinance my house. And suddenly you refinance your house and you cut your interest rate in half. And now you're like, hey man, I got an extra $1,000 in my pocket every month because my house payment just went down. And then I'm saving money on gas here. And then I just got a new job, or maybe I got the same job, but the job just gave me a pay raise because now we're doing more business. People got more cash in their pocket. So what happens with domestic manufacturing? Domestic manufacturing elevates everyone. All right? It really does. So then you got more people with cash in their pocket just because of everything happening around them. Then you have, good point. Oil prices affect product prices. Yeah, because guess what? You use petroleum for rubber, for vinyl, for plastics. So the cost of oil being dropped dramatically saves manufacturers the cost and hopefully drops the available MSRP prices of Watercraft. So thank you very much. I'm not going to try to pronounce that, but yeah, EAG, thank you for that comment. Very good comment. So anyhow, now you got Joe Blow. You got knuckleheads like me, all right? Their house has gone up in value. Their house payment's less. They got more money in their pocket. Then all of a sudden, tax cuts come. And all of a sudden, not only am I paying less in federal taxes, I also get, if you're a parent, you're getting a kid. Now your kid credit's higher because that was part of the tax cut. That was part of the incentive program. Okay, and simultaneously, they're lowering corporate taxes. So what happens is that your company is no longer dishing out all this corporate tax. Well, if they've got more money, they can sit there and go, hey, you know what? You guys have been with us through the really hard times. I know you had to wear 5 hats at once. I'm going to bump you up a couple bucks an hour, or we're going to bump you up $8,000 a year, or here's your raise, or here's your Christmas bonus, or whatever it might be. And again, that money ends up in your pocket. All right, it's a good thing. Now, if you're a business owner, now you're not sweating payroll. All right, I'm a business owner, so I got to think about making payroll. I got to think about paying all of our contributors and photographers and Adam, my film guy, and all that. So then you're like, holy cow. All right, well, now I can reinvest some money in my company. You know, we can have t-shirts and hoodies, and we can do more video and pay for more video production. So now I'm putting that money either primarily back into my business so that my business can grow. And I'm able to, buy dance lessons for my kids or swim lessons or whatever it is, or, maybe even have a family vacation. Oh my gosh, imagine that. So again, it's all about money, and it's all about the fluidity of money. Okay. Now, I'm not going to talk about the Bernie Sanders, the millionaires and the billionaires. All right. That gets into the weeds, and I don't want to get outside of the industry. Okay. But I want to make a couple points, and I brought up, like Tim Pool says, I brought the receipts. I'm going to bring up some articles here, and I will actually share the links for you guys to click on so that you know that I'm not using, Fox News or MSNBC or whatever. I'm using really good third-party stuff. All right. But the big thing here is what's happening now that I've talked about the normal Joe Blow and having money in his pocket and being able to buy stuff. I'm going to talk about the dealerships. All right. Right now, I'm looking at an article that was written last March. Okay. And this was a press release that was put out by Cision Power Sports or Cision Newswire through the power sports industry. Okay. And they explain right now, and I'll read it, is that the power sport market is slated to rise from around $11 billion in 2018 to all the way to $14.5 billion by 2025. These are projections based on growth over 2018 and 2019 numbers. All right. So they're looking at a growth of $3.5 billion by 2015. All right. According to the 2019 Global Market Insights report increasing off-road leisure activities across the globe will propel the market size during the forecast period. Growing youth inclination. Okay, all right. Additionally, in talking about new added demand and new interest in buying buying off-road vehicles, motorcycles, personal watercraft. This is all power sports. Let's see here. One of the things that is also furthering this projection was the further introduction of hybrid powertrains to address noise and emissions will positively influence the industry share. So we're looking at innovation, all right? Increased sales, rapid increased sales also promotes innovation. That's a big deal because right in tough times, they sit there and they hunker down. They go, how can we cost cut? How can we save some money? All right. What's it going to take to bail water out of this sinking boat? Well, when there's money and they're flush with money, they can start going, all right, well, how can we innovate? How can we make our product better? How can we save some few bucks? How can we make it run cleaner? How can we have it run more efficiently? So again, that's a really good thing, being money flush. All right. Unfortunately, this projection has already been amended because of just 2020 alone. All right. And this projection actually held until April of this year. It wasn't until May, June when we started seeing the shutdowns and people started losing their jobs and being furloughed. And that happened immediately. All right. From May until today, the entire shutdown cost American workers 20 million jobs. All right. Total. That's total. 20 million jobs. But I have the report here. All right. First, I'm going to share this with you guys. This is the first thing I'm sharing. Just so that if you guys at home want to read along. All right. That projection was already amended. And that projection was amended in a SEMA press release in July of 2020. All right. The SEMA press release. Now, you guys know SEMA. SEMA is the specialty equipment manufacturer association. These are the guys who make aftermarket products, aftermarket parts for cars and motorcycles and SUVs, side-by-sides and things like that. Okay. SEMA is paying attention to the power sports market, and they sent out a press release in July of this year. All right. And they immediately curtailed all that growth. And they said, listen, if we manage to maintain the $11 billion, we're in good shape. That's it. All right. That's an interesting article because now it has completely curtailed any and all growth. That's scary. That's really scary because people don't know. No one was seeing a light at any sort of end of the tunnel. So I'm not going to read through it. It's a long read, and quite frankly, it gets into like the weeds on a lot of stuff. So I will share this press release with you guys for anyone who's interested. That is the SEMA press release, okay? And that SEMA press release is the one that is basically pumping the brakes on the growth projections that they were saying were potential for 2025, all right? But here's where it gets interesting. As of, okay, so today's the 1st. So as of Thursday, the 29th, all right, the Federal Trade Commission gave out a report. Labor Board and Jobs and Labor Board Commission and crap. Okay, it's the Council of Economic Advisors. Okay, so the Trade Commission. So we have here that as of Thursday of this last week, gross domestic product, all right, that is how much money the country's made, has grew an actualized rate of 33.1% in the third quarter of 2020. That is an all-time record. It's an all-time record. Ever since we've been recording economic growth, 33.1% is an all-time GDP record. Okay? What does that mean? Is that just Amazon sales going up? Is that just Walmart sales being really high? What does that mean? Well, in that, it says since April, America has gained over 11.4 million jobs, recovering more than half, 1.4 million. But that's still more than half. But 11.4 million jobs of those lost because of the lockdowns. Okay? Now, who was losing jobs? A lot of good people were losing jobs. And a lot of people ranging the gamut. We're not talking people working at Burger King or 7-Eleven. We're talking guys who are making 80 grand a year, guys who are making 100 grand a year, people who are making $250,000 a year. Okay? A lot of people across the board were losing their jobs because they couldn't reach their customers. All right? People were either afraid or unable to get out of the house, or not able to access their services or their product, and they simply went out of business. Or the business itself survived, but they had to tighten their belt and they had to let people go. They had to furlough people. They had to let them go. Good example. Disneyland versus Disney World. Disney World's open. Governor DeSantis said they can open. All right. They opened up in July. Universal and Disney World and the resorts. Okay. Disneyland is still under lock and key. All right. They are absolutely being, I mean, you can go to Disney World, you can go to Disneyland. Don't get me wrong, doors open. But they're not letting a lot of people in. All right. Knott's Berry Farm, for you Southern California guys. I actually worked at Knott's Berry Farm for a summer. Believe it or not. And Magic Mountain, Knott's Berry Farm, SeaWorld, Legoland, the Southern California tourist, Universal Studios, of course, they're dying. They're in bad shape. And Disney had to announce, I believe it was 43,000 employees split nationally. But of those, like 75% were at Disneyland versus Disney World. Because they can't run at capacity. They're not allowed to. All right. And think of that. And that's Disney. All right. And there's a lot of people who, I mean, we're not talking the kid who pushes the button on or checks your seatbelt on Matterhorn. Okay. We're talking, guys who are doing service technician jobs who are making $75,000 a year. We're talking about people who are major managerial services who are making 100 grand a year at Disneyland. Believe it or not, I have a lot of friends who used to work at Disneyland who are still associated. So I just know a lot of that. So sorry, Stephen. I'm just saying, I'm just talking economics. So I'm not endorsing one person over the other. I'm just talking economics. But anyhow, what has happened in the last 7-8 months, it has been very, very damaging to the United States economy. Now, interesting enough, personal watercraft sales have been through the roof. I mean, they've been through the roof like crazy. Unfortunately, and we've talked about it here on this channel before, is that manufacturing got hamstrung. And in March, Yamaha had to close down manufacturing for almost a month. Okay. Sea-Doo had to close down manufacturing for a little bit longer. Now, when they opened up again, and it was because of closures, and rightfully so, you want your people to be safe. You want to take the proper measure. You want to take the right precautions, and by all means, totally do it. All right. Be safe. Keep your people safe. It's number one. Whether you're a father or a manager or a business owner, your number one asset are the people around you, are your people. So anyhow, what's going on is that supply did not meet demand this year. And that is why so many of you guys have money put down on 2021 units, and why they're being picked over. Okay, pay attention to Broward Motorsports or to Riva's Facebook pages. They announce every time a truck comes in. Honestly, it's impressive. They bring these big rigs in and they offload these. They offload a big flatbed full of Sea-Doos. They uncrate them within a day or two. They're already out the door. Honestly, call the guys at Cycle Springs, call the guys at Riva, and go, how fast are skis moving? They'll laugh at you. They're gone. If they're not already paid for in full, they're gone. They're gone. There's not a lot of people who just go out there and kick tires and go, hey, what do you got on the lot? It's all gone. Guys, it's still gone. The demand is that high. But people have cash in pocket. All right? A lot of people have cash in pocket. Unfortunately, we're looking at another 10 million Americans who don't have cash in pocket. All right? And that breaks my heart. That's awful, especially given that last year, 2019, and this is verifiable fact, all right? This is verifiable fact. This is not me blowing smoke. I'm not rah-rahing, one candidate or the other. But last year showed the highest numbers that we've ever seen for workplace participation. And that's just labor board. That's the labor board. That's the Department of Labor. That's not Donald Trump doing his accordion thing going, it's great, there's jobs, it's wonderful, it's the best. Accordion. It's literally the Department of Labor I'm looking at right here. Okay? And they were the highest participation numbers that this country's ever recorded. That's fantastic. And that's why it hurts so much when we saw so many good, honest people lose their jobs. Okay, so let's just pump the brakes a little bit. All right. What does this election spell for the economy we're talking about? Right now, going back to it, we're seeing growth. We're seeing a 33% GDP growth. I hate to tell you, it is going to a lot of big people. It's going to banks. It's going to big box stores. Everyone's going to Target. Everyone's going to Amazon. Everyone's going to Walmart because, unfortunately, the mom and pop shops are being screwed, and that breaks my heart because my dad had a mom and pop shop, growing up. So, but we're seeing job growth. It's going fast. We're not all the way back, understandably, but it is growing, and it's growing fast. So that's good news. That's light at the end of the tunnel. That's why a lot of people are very hopeful. They're upbeat. They're hopeful. They're like, this is good. We're seeing good things. People are getting new jobs, and businesses are starting to reopen. This is good stuff. We're happy about it, all right? But that is not to say we're not aware of people who are suffering. We are not aware of people who are having a hard time. And hopefully we have enough business growth that those people who are out of jobs can find new work. All right. I have a good friend of mine. He completely changed his career in the last few months because he had to. Thank God he found a job. The guy's got 3 kids and his wife's pregnant again. But no, he's got 3 kids. Yeah. Okay. And I'm immensely grateful he found a new job and he's taking care of his family again. But it was a tough go. He was sweating it. All right. So anyway, let's go to what's happening. And this is where I'm going to piss off a lot of people. And I've already got some guys mad at me. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be a jerk. And I'm not trying to be, hyper political about it. But I am going to talk about what one person stands for and what another candidate stands for. And we're just going to lay it out. Okay. I've detailed what we've seen in the last 3.5 years when it comes to economic growth. And thank God there's a lot of people who remember what last year's economy was like. And what it was like the beginning of this year. Beginning of this year was fantastic. All right. And they remember and they go, we can get back to that really quickly. I have faith that we can get back to that really quickly. And for that reason, that's why honestly, these people are voting for Donald Trump. I mean, some people like the fact that he is a hammer in search of a nail. All right. Some people like the personality. Some people like the tweets. Some people like that stuff. That's not my cup of tea. But I'll tell you what, man. I like being able to pay my bills. I like being able to grow my business. I like being able to buy my kids stuff if they want it. I like the fact that I was able to buy my wife a new car. I couldn't do that 4 years ago. So, for me and for a lot of you guys, it's how thick is my wallet this year. And that's what a lot of people are voting for. In 1992, when George Herbert Walker Bush lost his election, his re-election against Bill Clinton, a lot of strategists were like, "Well, what the heck? Why didn't he win?" And the best economist, Thomas Sowell, was like, "It's the economy, stupid. It's the economy." Honestly, it's the economy. So that's where it's at. Now, so the question is, we know what King Cheeto, Orange Man Bad, Donald Trump is campaigning on. He's campaigning on what we saw the last 2 years. So I don't really need to regurgitate, here is the last 2 years. So I don't really need to regurgitate, here is Yeah, okay. Cut taxes for small business by 20%, providing $415 billion in tax relief for small business owners. That directly affected me. Cut taxes or alleviated tax burden for over 500 companies. I'm too small for that, so that didn't affect me. Let's see. Provided tax relief to 82% of the middle class families. Affected me. Doubled the child tax credit, providing $1,000 per child of tax relief. Affected me 3 times. Doubled the standard deduction, a change at simplified tax code. That affected me because my CPA spent like a quarter of the time doing our business's taxes. Let's see. I did not have to pay for the mandate, the Obamacare mandate. I had a friend who did, and it was gnarly. My friend, guy I know named Rick had to do the mandate, the Obamacare mandate. It murdered him. It was bad. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That doesn't affect the G. So anyway, me being an example of just a Joe Blow who is a guy in the jet ski industry who's excited about buying a new jet ski, it affected me because I didn't, and I now have cash in pocket to buy a personal watercraft. So let's, you know what? I didn't even get into the USMCA. The USMCA is the replacement for NAFTA. And the USMCA, which is the United States, Mexico, Canada Agreement, is really, really interesting. And if you guys are business owners, if you're in manufacturing, the USMCA was one of the best deals ever. In fact, they got video of Joe Biden even saying it was a great deal. It actually, he's like, well, it's great, but, and whatever. But it really was a good thing. I mean, like, really, really good. Especially because for Sea-Doo, with manufacturing, so much manufacturing in Mexico, it actually made Sea-Doos a little bit cheaper. So that's kind of nice. At least it should have. I don't know if we're seeing that savings, but it did. Anyway, so I don't need to share that. That's well, I'll share it with you guys just for fun. Here you go. Again, I'm trying to share everything that I got here with you guys. So anyhow, here is everything regarding the 2020 Biden-Harris tax plan. And this is off of Biden-Harris or Biden2020.com. All right. And I'm also looking You don't want me getting into the conspiracy theories of the COVID thing. I think we're going to see. It go away with flu season, personally. But anyhow, regardless of who wins, taxfoundation.org, third party organization, do tax evaluation. All right. Very interestingly enough, there's a lot of really neat things that are in the Biden tax plan. Honestly, I'm not lying. One of them is child tax credit is even higher. Okay. And they expedite it for people making, I think it's less than $40,000 a year. So people with kids who make less than $40,000 a year, they get expedited payment for their child care credit or child tax credit. So that's good. That's a good thing. So that helps out with families. And they also are looking at, he wants to bring back the Affordable Care Act in full force. And Biden does detail that he wants to bring the mandate back, which is kind of a punishment for not having health insurance. But it's not for single parents, and it's not for small families. He details here that credit is primarily for single adults, and predominantly single males under the age of 40. So, or no, it says, I thought I saw it and I thought it said 36 years old. Either way, all right, let's talk about money in people's pocket. That's why I'm bringing this stuff up. And okay, here we go. All right, so here's some really neat things here on the, there's two things that Joe Biden has detailed, and this isn't me saying he's a liar or anything. I'm not at all. In fact, this is his own words. Okay, this is off his own website, and it's just calling out how he views business. Is number one, he said in the first 100 days he's repealing the Trump tax cut. All right, that's scary to me. That freaks me out because I will be paying more taxes. Number two is that he's going to implement a new tax plan that they're saying that if you make less than $400,000 a year, these things won't affect you. But if you're a small business owner, this does affect you because they're weighing it off of how much money the company makes, not what it's worth. And then they calculate value into that. So if you have a brick and mortar, if you have a shop truck, if you have a forklift, all that's added into the value, and now they can tax you for, oh, well, your company is worth $2 million. Like, no, it's not. It's worth $500,000. Like, nope, $2 million. Scary. So here, via the taxfoundation.org, and I'll put this link up. It says increases the corporate income tax from 21% to 28%. All right, that's corporate income tax. So if you work for a big company that has to pay this new 7% hike, that might mean your Christmas bonus is going down. That might mean that you get passed up for your pay raise. Creates a minimum tax on corporations with book profits of $100 million or higher. Well, you work for Walmart. Guess what? That affects you. The minimum tax is structured as an alternate minimum tax. Corporations will pay the greater of their regular corporate income or the 15% minimum tax while still allowing for net operating loss NOL. Okay. And for foreign tax credits. That directly is another way of saying, hey, listen, if you're getting tax credits internationally, is also you're going to be levied on that in addition to. And then the last one says it doubles the tax rate on global. I don't want to get into the GILT or the GILTI. That's not necessary. Let's see here. A lot of stuff regarding international, moving money internationally for businesses, big corporations, big banks. He's coming down on taxing these big corporations, which to most people go, hey, listen, they got the money. Question. You remember when George W. Bush made the TARP fund in 08, and then Obama signed the check. Do you remember the TARP fund? Got a question. All that money that went to GM, where'd it go? All of the CEOs and all the board gave themselves really cush retirement plans, and they jumped ship. All right. And when they jumped ship, they appointed a new female CEO to run GM. It took that poor woman about a year to figure out that she got handed a sinking ship. And then all of a sudden, everyone went, she's run GM into the ground. What did she do? It wasn't her fault. All right. They took all the TARP funds and gave each other fat raises. They all went to Barbados for a weekend and got drunk. And then they split. I'm not joking. Look it up. Detroit News. 2009. Look up 2009, 2010, Detroit News, GM, golden parachute. That's the thing you want to look up is golden parachute. All right. I'm not joking. This is what happened. All right. Never should have bailed out the auto industry. Never should have done it. But that's a whole different story. So anyhow, what happens when you tax these major companies? Does the CEO take a pay cut? If you start taxing, if you start taxing Facebook, is Mark Zuckerberg going to take a pay cut? Nope. They'll just start charging us to use Facebook or whatever, or they'll put more ads up or whatever they're going to do. All right. It always gets passed down. It always does. All right. What George Carlin say? If you're at the bottom of the tree, you're always getting, if you're the bottom monkey on the tree, you're always getting pooped on. So anyway, that's how it goes. I'm trying to be really fair about this. I really am. I apologize if this just comes off like I'm ranting. But this is the report from taxfoundation.org. Let's see here. But here's the one thing that is very interesting. It's another takeaway from taxfoundation.org. Is that, and these are all economists. This isn't political punditry. It's not, it's not Tucker Carlson who's writing this stuff. All right, it's not trying to attack. It's just trying to lay it out. One of the most interesting things, and this is from the Treasury Department. I'm going to put it up. All right. Treasury Department says, according to a report from the United States Treasury Department, between 1940 and 2012, Congress. I'm going to read the whole paragraph so you guys can hear it. I know it's boring. I apologize. And I'm pretty sure I got like 5 people watching this. I apologize. But according to a report by the U.S. Treasury Department, between 1940 and 2012, Congress enacted 21 major tax bills that increased federal tax revenues over at least one fiscal year. Of these 21 revenue-raising tax bills, the 5 largest tax increases since 1940 have raised annual federal revenue in the range of 1.33% of GDP up to 5.04 GDP. By comparison to these past tax increases, in the first year, Biden's tax plan would increase federal revenue by 0.68% of GDP, making it the 10th largest tax increase since 1940. What happened in 1941 through 1945? World War II. With FDR, for God's sakes. Within the first year, I'll read it again. In the first year, Biden's tax plan would increase federal revenue by 6.8% of GDP, making it the 10th largest tax increase since 1940. Let's just let that sink in. Just marinate on that one. All right? It's a lot of taxes. It's a lot of taxes. And it's going to end up in our laps. That's what freaks me out. All right? That's what freaks me out. Not trying to be a jerk, guys. I'm talking about money and cents. Why? How will that affect you? If you're paying more taxes out of pocket, if the company you work for is paying more taxes, do you have 10 grand, $15,000, 20 grand, $25,000 to put down on one or two or a trailer new skis? No. A lot of people are going to hunker down. Or they're going to buy more Sparks and buy more EXs. I don't know. Maybe. Okay? But them's the facts. That's just money. That's just money. So, historical context. Yeah, okay. I need to make sure. Yeah, I put that one up there. So, Washington Post. Washington Post hates Donald Trump. The Washington Post hates conservatives. They're no friend to me. But guess what? I read them. And I read Politico. And I listen to Democrats. And I listen to what they say. I can't stomach like MSNBC and CNN, but I'll read newspapers. All right? I'll see what they have to say. Because I want to know what other people are saying. I know what my side's saying. I know. All right? And I know what some of the whack jobs on the far end of my side are saying too. But I'm sorry, Cliff. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, upset. I'm trying not to be a jerk about it. But I'm literally reading off of the man's website. I'm not making it up. Okay? Washington Post. I'm making a point. Washington Post says, this is a quote, and I'll put the article up. All right? Asked during an ABC town hall last week. Oh, let me tell you when this was published. Come on, where's your date? October 22nd of this last week, or a week and a half ago. All right. I know it's a touchy subject. I apologize, guys, but you voted for this one, so I'm like, oh, God, how am I going to do this one? Asked, and this is a quote from the Washington Post, and I will put the article up so you can read it and you can see that Kevin's not lying. I'm not making this up. I am not blowing smoke. Asked during an ABC town hall last week whether it was appropriate to raise taxes Asked during an ABC town hall last week about whether it was appropriate to raise taxes despite the struggling economy, although we know it's growing, Biden said, quote, absolutely. He then wrote, then they go on, Washington Post goes on and says, Biden has proposed increasing the corporate tax rate from 21 to 28%. I shared that. Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Cliff, and I apologize. This is the one that people voted for, and this is why I'm talking about what's going to happen to prices. Propose increasing the corporate tax rate from 21 to 28%, taxing investors' capital gains at normal income rates for those earning more than $1 million, raising the top rate from 37 to 39.6%, and lifting the cap on Social Security payroll taxes. They're going to tax your Social Security. Among other changes, his campaign says are designed to insulate Americans earning less than $400,000 a year from new tax hikes. Again, I support 100% helping the middle class grow. 100%. The thing that gives me pause, and I'm going to share, let me share this article so that you know I'm not lying, is money. All right? Because again, this is you and me being able to buy product. It really is. It's just about you and me being able to buy product. And if we cannot afford to buy product, manufacturers are in trouble. Now, I'll tell you what. I've shared this story before, and it's true. It's 100% true, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. When the bottom fell out, 2008, 2009, I told you Sea-Doo retooled and reconfigured and came up with the Spark. And the Spark changed the industry. Let's be really clear about this. The Spark was a massive win for Sea-Doo. It floated that company. I mean, yeah, they were selling RXPXs and RXTs and GTXs. But the Spark got people in dealerships. That's a big deal, all right? Because people go, man, I don't want to buy a jet ski. Things are tight. But here's what happens when, hey, the Spark came out. How much does it weigh? 400 pounds? How much is it? $5,000? Dude, we could get one of those. Oh, sure, honey, let's do that. That sounds like a fun toy. Okay, boom. It's in pink? Well, get us a pink one. I'm telling you, it was genius. That ski was genius. In fact, one of the first articles ever published on the Watercraft Journal was the brilliance of the Spark. And it wasn't trying to kiss Sea-Doo's butt. It was primarily economic. It was primarily like, this is filling a hole in the marketplace that has been wide open. You can drive a big rig through it. And Sea-Doo came tearing in and had this unit ready to go. Okay? That is a big deal. It's a big deal. The Spark was a big deal. And it was a really smart move on Sea-Doo's end to try to get feet moving in the showroom. Okay? Simultaneously, orders came down from Yamaha going, what are we going to do? We're in trouble. This is bad news. And the orders were design one hull, one ski, and that's all we're going to sell. And they're like, oh boy, what? And they're like, we need one ski. Well, at the time, they had the FX, the FZ, and the VX. All right? VX was the darling of the rental units. I mean, like, that's why they carried it on as the V1 for a couple of, 2 extra years. All right. FZ was their performance unit, was their race unit. FX, cruiser unit, and a performance unit. There was an FX SHO at the time. Yeah, it was an SHO. So, if you have no middle class, you have fewer PWC sales. Yeah, I agree. Unions lifted more out of poverty than anything else. Instead of worrying about taxes on the rich man's yacht, just get more money in your pocket. It's been proven that unions right now actually don't do very much for workers. That came to a head during the FCA, Fiat Chrysler America, or Fiat Chrysler Automobiles. During the early Fiat Chrysler 2010 and 2011 negotiations, it was blatantly aired. In fact, Washington Post and Wall Street Journal did a really, really good article on why, quite frankly, the UAW was a paper tiger, and they really didn't. Now, mind you, we're talking 1920s, 1930s. And you're dealing with the industrial barons, dude, this country would be ruined without the labor unions, 100%. They've just kind of churned into something way crazier, all right? I mean, I don't want to get all Jimmy Hoffa and get into that, but there's a lot of unions. I'm not saying all. No, but by no means am I saying all, because there's a lot of really good unions out there. But like a lot of United Iron Workers, a lot of the UAW types, there's a lot of fat there that could be trimmed, and that's just the truth. And I think there's a lot of guys out there who are welders and pipe fitters who are like, ugh, dude, the union dues, I don't even know what I'm paying for. I mean, hey, look at the teachers' unions, for goodness sakes. I have friends who are teachers. My sister's a teacher, and it's like, what am I paying for? What do you guys really? You're a lobbying group? I don't really. My district's really good. I can just go to our district, and my district can represent me better than the union can. So again, I'm a little on the. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was answering a question and went down a side edge or a side trail. In the Boston area, unions have been in. Okay. Let me back up. So anyway, when times got tough, Yamaha said, "Okay, well, what are we going to do? We got to homologate homogenize, not homologate. We need to homogenize our three hulls." So they started development, all right, and they started working really hard. And it took about 6 years, and it took a lot of time to get the hull design that did it all. And the hull design that they felt did it all is the one that's currently underneath the VX and GP units, all right? That is their Swiss Army knife. Because they said, if we don't pull out of this recession, if we can't get out of this 2013, 2014 recession, we're selling one wave runner with just a bunch of different options. And that was the VX hull. And the VX hull, I'll tell you what, 2015, 14, those 2015 models. So in 2014, when I was introduced to the 2015s, they had the new VXs. And in that lineup was the VXR. And I was like, this thing's great. I love this thing. This thing's fantastic. And Scott Watkins pulled me aside and he goes, "Hey, man, just so you know, we got one with the SVHO engine in it." I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "Does it fit?" He goes, "Yeah, it fits great." I was like, "What's it like?" He goes, "It's a beast. It's a monster. It's killer. It'll blow your mind." I'm like, "Get out of here." And he was like, "No, I'm telling you. We got an SVHO engine in that VXR, and we're gonna make it we're gonna make it really light." This is before Nano Excel 2 came out. All right, 2017, GP 1800, and it was the idea. There was no 2013, 2014 recession. Actually, yes, because the growth was at the time 1.2%. People were still out of work. Housing market was in the hole. We had not pulled out of the recession. It was still bad times. It was. And PWC sales were a third of what they were in 2007. They were a third. I believe 2012, it was 29,000 units. And prior to the bottom falling out of 2008, we were at just under 90,000. It was like 80, I think it was like 84,000 units a year. So yeah, things were bad. And this previous year was 87. I want to say 87,000 units and change. So we buoyed quite a bit. Anyhow, but let's just make a point. That we've seen a whole bunch of innovation and a whole lot of growth and a whole lot of really amazing product in the last 3 years. Okay? I mean, really have. 2018 Sea-Doo, 2018 model year for Sea-Doo was the ST3 lineup. All right. 2016, the 300 motor. So let's just talk about Sea-Doo. 2016, the 300 motor. We didn't see really anything out of 2017. 2018 was the 300 powered ST3 hulls. All right. And the Fish Pro. Or no, 2019 was Fish Pro. Sorry. 2019 was Fish Pro. 2020, all new GTIs. 2021, all new RXPXs. All really new, really neat, exciting product. What hadn't changed, interestingly enough, Spark. I mean, we got the Trix. But the Trix wasn't like a major hull change. It wasn't a major redesign. It was just, VTS. But again, the industry reacts. It usually doesn't preemptively strike, but it reacts to the economy. All right. And when the economy is good, we see a lot of innovation. When it's rough, well, in Sea-Doo's case, they innovated to, it was a Hail Mary pass. It was like, hey, listen, I think this can work. This might get us out of the weeds. And they were sweating it. They were really, really hoping. They were pushing the heck out of it. Please make this work. All right. Yamaha, their decision was, well, if we got to reduce, it's going to be one hull. It's going to be one unit. Thank God that wasn't the case. And, the GP was a home run. And the VX new hull was great. The redesign in 2019 of the FX was fantastic. And so they got, and they introduced the EXs. The EX was more of a measured response to the Spark than it was a reaction to the economy. And that was kind of the intent behind that unit. Because people said, man, you got to get a rec unit. We got to get a rec light unit like the Spark. Well, they're like, well, we don't want to do something so light and so nimble. And so, we want something a little more mature, something a little bit more calm. And that was the EX. And then, of course, this year we had the Superjet. So I'm going to kind of leave it at that. Guys, I'm not trying to piss you off. I'm not trying to upset you. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. But I will talk about money and putting money in your pocket. And it's, I'll answer a few questions. I'm not going to get into the weeds on the politics, guys. I just don't want to piss anyone off. But I am telling you where I stand, and I'm telling you what, quite frankly, I value. And what I value is being able to keep the lights on. I'm doing this for free. All right. We're not selling a bunch of t-shirts. We're not selling a bunch of hats. I don't have hats, but got hoodies and t-shirts. But you guys get to enjoy this stuff for free. I just ask that you go over to the website and read the articles every now and again. Because we have advertisers who pay for advertising, and that helps keep my lights on. All right. If I was independently wealthy, I'd do this for free. And then I'd probably just, be very unapologetic about stuff. But I can't. And this has to be a business. So, again, I'm not trying to draw lines in the sand and say either you're with me or against me. That's not it. I'm simply giving you what I feel are direct influencers on our industry as per this presidential election. If you guys want to talk politics and you can add me on Facebook. In my personal account, I put all sorts of politics up. I know I probably shouldn't, but I do. And I'm probably going to get kicked off of Facebook because of it. But other than that, that's what I felt was in my research and in my understanding and everything that I know about the industry, what would be deciding influencers on the industry from here on out. Okay? You're going to see less units. If taxes go up and people have less money in their pocket, it's going to hurt. Was 2020 the strongest sales year in a while? Cliff, that's a very good question. And it was strong because of demand. But it was not in sales because sales were reduced because of the... Sea-Doo had 2 shutdowns. Yamaha had 1 shutdown where they simply had to cease production. So supply did not meet demand. Last year, 2019, was handily, the best year that we had seen in the 2000s. I heard 40%, but I did not hear that from Sea-Doo. And the guys that I know at Sea-Doo said it's not even close to that. They're like, it was something like in the teens. Whether that's true or whether that's telling the media that, I'll leave that up to you. Yes, more used machines on the market. Hopefully so. Hopefully that's the case. I mean, great. Makes it cheap. One man's trash is another man's treasure. I will finish by putting up, this was a questionnaire that Power Sports Business Magazine put up to its dealers and its dealer network. And they asked the dealers, these are dealers, these aren't Joe Schmoes, how do you think the upcoming presidential election will affect your business? I'm not going to tell you their answers. I want you to read them. But I think a lot of you already know. And that's how it is. Guys, I'll leave you with this testimony. The world without America would be far less free. America and Americans have our problems. And we get involved in things we shouldn't be involved in. And we feel like we need to be someone's big brother. But I will tell you, I have a strong personal testimony that God had a hand in creating this country and in preserving it. And I am very emotionally involved in wanting to see this country and its people succeed. But the only way we can do that is by preserving freedoms. Freedom is ugly. Oh, freedom of speech is ugly. You get people saying the damnedest stuff. And it's awful. But you take the good with the bad. And we need more important than anything is to preserve the Constitution and preserve the country as it was established. Because it has brought us this far. So I ask you, honestly, to strongly consider what's at play this week. I strongly want you to consider what's important here. And it's not what the news is saying. The news, and I don't care what channel you listen to, the news has an agenda. It's like a football game. They have their teams. All right? Don't listen to the news. Search truth if you can find it. Oh God, if you can find it. If you can find truth, seek it out. And I'm asking you, please. It's not about personality. It's not about bad hair and toner and gaffes and stupid memes and whatever Facebook and Twitter and Instagram are showing you. And it's not the damn news. It's about keeping this country alive and keeping it safe. Sorry, I don't mean to end it like this, but I'm not even going to go through the questions, guys. I'm asking you to pray. If you believe in God. Sorry. If you believe in God, pray. Pray that He'll save this country. And He'll save it from people who want to destroy it. And that's all I got to say. Sorry for tuning in. Sorry to turn into a mess like this. Guys, thanks again for tuning in. Next week will be fun. I promise. It won't be anything like this. I won't do this one again. Guys, thanks again. Appreciate it. Be well. Please get out and vote. Thank you. Have a good night.